Hey everyone, this is Yeri of Astrology Healing Arts, and I don't usually do a forecast for every sign every month, but this month of February 2026 is so pivotal that I am inspired and compelled to offer this to you. I will begin with Aries going to the last sign, Pisces, and remember, it's usually most useful to begin listening to your rising sign if you know it, and then also your sun and moon sign are relevant as well. Aries, sun, moon, and rising people, this is a very important month for you. The month begins with a full moon lighting up your fifth house of love, creativity, self-expression, and there's this natural buoyancy that's just arising within you. You feel supercharged, and yet there might be also a sense of foreboding. You can't put your finger on it. You might be fluctuating between sensations of trepidation and exhilaration. Neptune, the planet of fog, illusions, dreams, and the non-corporeal levels of existence, is now passing through your first house. So you might feel kind of high and floaty, like you're on top of the world. But Saturn will be entering your first house on the 13th, bringing a tone of seriousness. So you'll be kind of coming down from the high and getting that sense you need to get back to work, size down, pay attention to body signals or pay attention to bills. What needs adjustment in your health? What needs adjustment in your relationships? There's going to be an eclipse in your 11th house of shared goals, hopes, and wishes. That falls on the 17th of the month. Many changes are happening within your close circles of friends and community, and you might feel suddenly displaced or unsure of your direction. But you can also see that new doors are opening before you. However, there's a new responsibility that comes with any major decisions that you make going forward. And you know that this coming year is actually going to radically change how you see yourself and what you are bringing forth in your endeavors. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising people, this month begins with a full moon lighting up your fourth house of home and family, your inner life, your inner sanctum. And so you kind of just want to cozy up and spend time with your favorite people or hobbies or just something that you enjoy to process this journey that you've been on, because for the past couple of years, you have probably, some of you, worked very hard on accomplishing your goals. And you've had a lot of changes to your social circle, your friends, your associations and allies. And you're sensing that there's a new phase of beginning to go inward. Energy is being drawn to your inner life and your spiritual life. There's going to be an eclipse on the 17th that occurs in your 10th house of career and social standing. And so you are probably preparing yourself for something new, something that you've already been working on for a while, that you're going to, maybe it's a relocation of your business, or maybe you're going to invest in a business or something like this. But you need to be careful for the influence of Neptune that could be creating some confusion or delays in some of your plans. However, I think that overall, you are going to experience a lot of success and probably more of a momentum, because you have Uranus stationing direct early in the month in your first house. And so you'll probably get this burst of energy like, finally, like you can get to that desired outcome. Something, again, you've been working on this for a long time. It's not something entirely new, but you might start something new based on the goals and visions and work that you've already been doing for quite some time. Gemini, sun, moon, and rising people, the month begins with a full moon lighting up your third house of communications education and family, especially siblings and cousins. And so you might be wanting to just spend time with people, go out, have some fun. There's a lot on your mind. And this is also the house of education and, cognition. So you are processing a lot of things that have been happening in your past couple of years. Saturn is now making its way out of your 10th house. You've accomplished a lot of things. You've probably made some huge advances in your career, or you've taken on a lot. And now Saturn is preparing to enter your 11th house of friendships and association. So there's a lot of change happening with your friendships. And Neptune also has just moved in. So you might feel kind of confused right now. This is the planet of fog and illusions and delusions and dreams. And so you either have people coming into your life right now that are very inspiring, or you have situations with people in your social life that are just somewhat of an enigma to you. Now, on the 17th, there's going to be a solar eclipse that happens in your 9th house of publications, travel, your expanded sense of perception and higher learning. And so this is a very inspiring eclipse, but at the same time, you might feel so sick and tired of your limitations that you need to do something radical to break free. You want to get out of this situation. You want to get out of this rut. You want to make that trip to whatever country to see whoever. And you're just like, I'm not going to settle for less anymore. So do take the time to get yourself ready to make these changes, because this is the year that you are supposed to move forward, and you're supposed to kick up your heels and have some fun. But do understand that your social life is going to change. So you'll probably have to make some adjustments, like, okay, who's with me and who's not. So just know that it's also okay to walk alone sometimes. You don't always have to have company, because quality is better than quantity. Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. This month begins with a full moon lighting up your 2nd house of values, self-esteem, and finances. So you are really focused on either making ends meet, or making the best of a situation that you're in, or highlighting your skills and talents, or just coming to appreciate yourself more for all that you've done and all that you've been through, because it's been a long road. If you have been undervalued in some way, you might feel pissed off right now. You might feel like, you know what? Why do I bother giving and doing so much for so little in return, or for zero acknowledgement? So it's time to assess that situation if you find yourself in it. Now, Saturn's been traveling for a while, for the past couple of years, 2.5 years, in your 9th house of publications, travel, higher learning, and you may have encountered a lot of challenges and frustrations in the areas of how to get across something that's very important to you. And you might have felt misunderstood in some ways, or that you've had to sort of walk around and deal with other people's agendas and schedules. And now that's about to change, because Saturn is about to enter your 10th house on the 13th. And you have Neptune having just entered there too. So it's still tricky to figure out, your footing. But you're going to have a huge boost in your self-esteem and your overall direction. Now on the 17th, there's going to be an eclipse, solar eclipse, lighting up your 8th house of shared resources and transformation. And there's going to be something this month that really significantly shifts the way that you process and express a lot of deep emotions and truths. Not just emotions, but your inner reality, and how you've been holding that, how you've been carrying yourself, and even how you've been processing grief. Some of you have been processing a lot of intense grief. And what could potentially shift this month is a significant release, as though you can finally move on. Leo, Sun, Moon, and Rising, this is an incredibly intense month for you. The month begins with a full moon lighting up your first house of identity, your health, your overall countenance, how you feel about yourself, how you feel about your life, and you might feel like you're carrying the world on your shoulders. You might literally be experiencing back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain, and you need to just give yourself a self-care day. You need to slow down and pay attention to these signals that your body is sending you. Neptune, the planet of fog, illusions, delusions, confusion, has just exited your 8th house and entered your 9th house. So there's a sense of inspiration, like reigniting your flame, your passion, your sense of purpose. But it's just been so frustrating, the things that you've encountered along the way, that you might temporarily feel kind of lost. This month, you know that something serious has to change. And that solar eclipse that we're going to experience on the 17th is going to be in your 7th house of relationships, contracts, and agreements. And that would include your home life, your, partnerships with, loved ones, but also business contracts and agreements. And so you have some serious decisions to make. You understand now that you can't do things the way that you've been doing them, and that the decisions now have to make more sense to you, and they have to align with your values and sense of integrity and dignity. And so it's really weighing on you. You know that you have to do something very important. And Saturn is getting ready to transition on the 13th into your 9th house of higher learning and travel and expansion. So you are realizing that in order to get to where you want to go, you really have to cut out the noise and the nonsense that's going on in your life. And part of that comes from saying no, standing up for what's right, or being a leader, being a protector, doing your part with integrity and honor. Virgo, Sun, Moon, and Rising people, let me ask you a question. Have you felt like things are kind of going sideways for you lately? Because I can see that you've carried a lot internally, and the month of February begins with a full moon in your 12th house of solitude, introspection, spirituality, dreams, rest. Take a stand back, just breathe, you can relax now. You can allow yourself to unwind from all of the tension that you've been experiencing, and do something for yourself, pamper yourself. You've been so busy taking care of everybody else. When is it your turn? That's what I want to know, okay? The solar eclipse is going to happen on the 17th in your 6th house of health. And so if things are not catching up with you yet, you have to pay attention to yourself now, because I think some of you have been really martyring yourself or overworking. Maybe it's because of money. Maybe you haven't had a choice. But there's good news. Stay with me. Saturn exits your 7th house of partnership and collaboration and enters your 8th house of shared resources. So some of you may have money coming to you, and it's not necessarily going to come easy, but you might find that your present circumstances are pressuring you to change something significant about your lifestyle, your line of work perhaps, or some of you who are too idle might find the need to work more. But whatever the case may be, you will rest assured that your luck will change, your life will change, your health will improve when you do really look at making the changes that you know are best for you. Libra, Sun, Moon, and Rising, your life is on the upswing. The month begins with a lively full moon in your 11th house of friendships, goals, hopes, and wishes. and association. So it's likely to be a very lively and social time for you. On the other hand, some of you might be experiencing arguments or disagreements with friends or other important people in your life. The solar eclipse on the 17th falls in your 5th house of love, creativity, romance, self-expression. Now, there's going to be a huge shift in the way that you express yourself, in the way that you even, find enjoyment in things. Your passions might be changing, your desires might be changing. And there's this saying, sometimes not getting what you wished for is a brilliant stroke of luck. Was that the Dalai Lama who said that? I don't remember, but you're going to have a moment where you go, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that thing didn't happen. And as you get in touch with your deeper desires, your heart is leading you in a completely new direction that is going to be life-changing. So get ready. This is huge. And also, Saturn is shifting from your house of health and work into your 7th. And so you can breathe a sigh of relief that some of these ailments and just things that you've been having to work on, like nagging issues, you will have addressed. And now you can move on to other more important things. Scorpio, Sun, Moon, and Rising. The month begins with a full moon lighting up your 10th house of recognition and leadership, your career. So there might have been recent changes or changes taking place around, what you feel called to do. What are your priorities? You're really reassessing all of that. And you don't want to waste time doing things that your heart is not aligned with anymore. So this is a big turning point for you. Now on the 17th, we have a annular solar eclipse in your 4th house, and that is going to be changing something around your home life or relationships with family, or maybe you are beginning to carve out more quiet time for yourself to process your emotions, because there's a lot of things coming up for you. Saturn is exiting your 5th house this month on the 13th and entering your 6th. So as it exits your 5th house, you might feel this relief that there's no longer a block on your creative expression. And you will probably be able to carve out more time for those things that you really enjoy. However, with Saturn moving into your 6th house, it's becoming evident where you've been holding tension in your body, and you need to make some adjustments in your health, maybe your diet, maybe you need to start seeing a specialist or something like that. But it's okay. You're a tough cookie. You can handle this. And I know you're going to be very successful this year. It's going to be intense, but if anyone can master this thing, it's you. Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. The month begins with a full moon lighting up your 9th house of travel, exploration, and higher learning. So you might be out for an adventure. And you don't want to be tethered and tied down. You want to explore like you always do. And it's a great time for that, as long as you watch out for potential conflicts. Not everyone is in the same cheery mood that you might be in. So just be aware of that. There's a solar eclipse on the 17th that will happen in your 3rd house of communications, siblings, cousins, family members, short trips, education. So you might have a lot on your mind. Some of you are going back to school, or you're diving into your studies, or maybe you're writing a book, whatever it is. This is a really mentally stimulating and charged month for you. And you might breathe a sigh of relief that Saturn is exiting your 4th house, which has to do with your home life, your family life, your emotional life, and it's entering your 5th. So if you've had a lot of, kind of feelings of responsibility or heaviness at home, that's leaving. But if you have doubts about, someone you're dating or someone you're married to or in your love life, it's going to be a little challenging. Some of you are going to want to reassess that connection with another person that you deeply care about. Or it could be that the two of you have something weighing on you that you need to work through together as a couple. And whatever the case may be, you have all of the tools at your disposal. You have what it takes. You have the energy right now to move through your challenges, trusting that your hard work is going to pay off eventually. Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Have you been on an emotional roller coaster recently? It would not surprise me. The month of February begins with a full moon lighting up your 8th house of deep, intense emotions and transformation, as well as shared resources and deeply shared emotional experiences. This is a very occult house, a house that deals with psychic phenomena. So many of you are experiencing psychic phenomena being heightened times 100 right now. And you might not know if you're coming or going. You might have experienced a deep loss, a death of something or someone in your life. It's really going to be kind of a big relief to you that something that's been weighing heavily on your mind, your planetary ruler Saturn, is exiting your 3rd house of the mind, mental processes, this month on the 13th. So this is also the house of family members, especially siblings and cousins. And if you've had any issues with your family, something's completing, something is ending with that. And on the 17th, there's going to be a solar eclipse lighting up your 2nd house of finances. And so if you've been needing to make changes around your finances, then, this is going to help you to make those kinds of adjustments so that you're getting paid what you're worth, or you're doing something that's more satisfying to you, because you really need to be aligned right now with your overall life direction when it comes to, how you're making money. And it doesn't always come through work. Be open to the possibility that, you are gifted. Some of you will experience that this month. But Saturn will be entering your 4th house, so also be on the lookout for potential changes or inklings of changes on the horizon having to do with your location, your home life, or just, something is going to draw your attention inward around that, around your emotions and around your family, but in a deeper sense. Maybe it has to do with a parent, could be a mother or father or someone else that you're very close to. Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. This is quite the spectacular, life-changing month for you, with so much going on about and in your sign. The month begins with a full moon in your 7th house of relationships, contracts, and agreements. This can go a lot of different ways. This could be either really positive or really negative. So the positive is that you could just feel so, enraptured and inspired and so aligned with, your partner or someone that you've decided to collaborate with in some way. Or you could just be having a huge disagreement that really gets ugly and messy. And so you might feel like you need to protect your energy. You might need to get your bearings about you because, again, there's so much in your sign this month. All these planets are in your sign and it's a lot. And it could be very energizing and inspiring, yes. But it could also be very overwhelming if you're not careful or if you are a highly sensitive type of person. The solar eclipse on the 17th occurs in your 1st house. This is a direct hit, up close and personal, Aquarius. So this is, again, life-changing. Who are you? Where are you? What do you want to do? all of the big questions are coming up. And if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not, if you are not feeling in sync, you might feel like you're totally knocked off kilter with this one. On the other hand, this is a wonderful opportunity to make the adjustments that you need to make. Some of you are flying high and experiencing wonderful breakthroughs in your life at this time. Saturn exits your second house of finances, yay, and enters your third. Neptune has just entered your third. So if you feel a little foggy and vague and fuzzy, let that be like an inspiration in your creative endeavors. And also, I do not recommend recreational drugs because you're going to be very sensitive and in a way that could be very damaging if you're not careful during this transit. Pisces, Sun, Moon, and Rising. This month of February begins by lighting up your sixth house of health, work, and service with a full moon in Leo. And it's important that you whistle while you work, that you enjoy what you're doing, and don't just do something because you feel obligated. I think there's a lot of things that are coming up around, oh, this is a habit. I'm just used to doing this. But now it's like, yeah, I really want to do something because I love doing it and not because I'm just used to doing it, because I get up every morning at such and such time and I, XYZ, you fill in the gaps. You know what it is. You know what your routine is. So it's time to mix things up a little bit. And you're really focused on your health. You might feel like you're kind of the one saying no to the invitation, the party. You don't want to go out and watch the parade. Just like, no, I'm cool. I need to stay home and take care of myself. I need to just lay low and, maybe contemplate my navel, whatever, or just watch your favorite show. Sometimes it's okay to do nothing. And this is one of those times where you feel like you have a lot to do, but something's telling you that you also need to stop doing something the way that you've been doing it. You might breathe a sigh of relief around the 13th when Saturn exits your first house and enters your second. Now some pressure has lifted and you find it easier to move. On the 17th, a solar eclipse occurs in your 12th house, illuminating many of your long-lost hopes, dreams, and wishes, and heightening your awareness of or bringing you back in touch with your lighthouse of wisdom. So you might feel like drawing, expressing yourself through music, or simply spending more time in nature to decompress. It's time to become more honest with yourself and clear about your life direction.